Hi, this is Marie Fortune from FaithTrust Institute. 35 years ago, I began my ministry to address sexual and domestic violence in faith communities. At that time, there were only a handful of colleagues who even had these issues on their radar. Silence was plentiful. Voices were few and far between, even though the suffering of victims lay just below the surface. And generally speaking, faith communities were part of the problem, not part of the solution. But as you have witnessed in the 16 Days of Activism videos that you have seen, much has changed in these 35 years. Faith-filled voices speaking out on sexual and domestic violence are plentiful and diverse. The work is still challenging, the needs are still great, women and girls still suffer great harm as victims of sexual and domestic violence. But the secrecy that has for years protected abusers but not victims has melted away with the strong voice of survivors and their allies. You who have been watching and listening for the past 16 days are these survivors and allies. You are doing the work wherever you are in your faith communities and your families. Never again will the suffering of victims be covered by silence. I'm reminded that in 2005 we worked together with a multi-faith group of allies to draft a national declaration to express our common concern across faith traditions that we address violence against women. Over 3,000 leaders from many faith traditions have signed on to that declaration. This is the text of the declaration. We proclaim with one voice as national spiritual and religious leaders that violence against women exists in all communities, including our own, and is morally, spiritually, and universally intolerable. We acknowledge that our sacred texts, traditions, and values have too often been misused to perpetuate and condone abuse. We commit ourselves to working towards the day when all women will be safe and abuse will be no more. We draw upon our healing texts and practices to help make our families and societies whole. Our religious and spiritual traditions compel us to work for justice and the eradication of violence against women. We call upon people of all religious and spiritual traditions to join us. We invite you to join, if you have not already, in signing this declaration and sharing it with others in your community. And if you found these videos from the 16 Days of Activism to be inspiring and educational, we also invite you to support the continuing work of FaithTrust Institute by donating online. By doing so, you join with others in the efforts 365 days a year to end sexual and domestic violence in our faith communities. Thank you, and may God richly bless you in your efforts.